In today's show, I'm talking positions, positional eligibility. Is it important? Why it's important? And some things to keep an eye out for over the coming weeks, maybe months. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok, at redrock_bball, and on Instagram, at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. All right. I love to always give you these disclosures. I'm recording this one a couple of days in advance. This is coming out, I think it's coming out on Tuesday, US time, Wednesday, Australian time. I'm recording it on Saturday because I've just gone away for a couple of days. So it is stuff that is relatively timeless and serves a purpose, but it doesn't require immediate information. So if something in the next 3 or 4 days has happened, I'm not going to reference it on today's show. So there you go. What I am going to talk about is positional eligibility, because we get these questions all the time. People will always ask this about players' positions, and people will always have comments when you do mock drafts, well, you don't have enough of this position, and why don't you have this, and all that, and that sort of stuff. So we're going to address it. We're going to talk about position eligibility. We're going to talk about why it's there, why it shouldn't be there, maybe ways to fix it, and then things to look out for when drafting players. So, warning.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right. Position eligibility. Is it important? Yes and no. If you completely ignore it, then you're going to have a bad time. If you maniacally focus in on it, you're probably also going to have a bad time. It's important to understand players' positions and make sure you're able to fill out all of your starting spots in your league. But just houndingly targeting guys with double and triple position eligibility because they have that, well, the benefits you gain from that versus missing out on other better players, I don't think adds up. So yes, position eligibility is important. This question will always get asked, and this is the general rule that I'm aware of, is that once positions get set at the beginning of the season, and I think ESPN might have an exception to this, but generally they don't take a position away from a player. They will add positions as things go on, but they will not take a position away from a player. So we're going to go through from Yahoo's positions today. I'm not going to go through ESPN's positions because, honestly, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about ESPN later. I'm going to go through it. We're going to talk about Yahoo's positions and what's wrong and what's right. The ability to get an extra position out of a player, it can be important, especially if it's a position that player doesn't really play. It helps a lot in head-to-head leagues, especially when you're looking at punting, when you're in situations where you're looking to stack big man stats and some big men are put into weird spots, or you're looking for a lot of guards and then there's guards that are placed in forward positions, enabling you to start those extra guys. That is where you get that real advantage. The rule that I've generally found with player positions is the fewer starters that you have in your league, like the standard is 10. If you have a league that runs 7 starters, having that additional positional flexibility is more important in those shallower leagues. Because with fewer starters, that usually means you have a stronger bench, as a general rule again. And there might be times where your best 5 players, or let's say it's 7 starters, your best 7 players, they actually can't all fit into the same starting lineup because their primary positions overlap a little bit too much. But if some of those guys, or a lot of those guys, have double positions, well, your flexibility in arranging your best players who play every day into that starting group becomes better. The reason it's not as important when you get to 10 or 11 or 12 starters or whatever is because towards the end of your roster, your 10, 11, 12, 13th best player, Well, the difference in quality in those guys is often very minimal. So if you have to sit your 10th guy because he doesn't fit positionally and your 11th guy goes in, he doesn't matter that much. It's not that big of a difference. It's also way more important in leagues where there are restrictive positions, where you don't have flex spots, which again is insane, or you don't have, or even like on default Yahoo, where for some reason there is 2 centers and only 2 flex spots. Again, never do it. The solution to all of this is, and this is one thing that, again, I love a general rule, but when you're trying to guide yourself through decisions, a general rule should be in fantasy, take the uncertainty, take the things that you can't control out of somebody else's hands. People will argue, well, I think we should have IL instead of IL plus. Why? Or it makes people have hard decisions. It doesn't. What it makes you do is rely upon whoever's giving the IL tag versus the O tag on Yahoo and the timing of that. And do they do it for 3 games or for 7 days? Or how do they know someone's out for 7 days? And you're relying upon someone else's decision-making to impact the outcome of your league. It's the same with position eligibility. The more restrictive you set positions, the more you're relying upon somebody who sets the positions to give those guys the correct positions according to you. Whereas if you have broad positions, it doesn't matter what those other people do, whoever's setting the positions. It doesn't matter. And what you should be relying upon is your own skill, the player's skill on the court, taking out variables that don't need to be there, I think is always going to be a huge W. Now, I think I've done it once before in terms of like how do we fix it? Like we want to reduce position restrictions. I don't want 2 starters on Yahoo at center. In fact, I don't really think we should have specific positions. Why do we need point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward? Why do we need those? NBA teams don't have them. They just don't. And I was reading something today just before I went on air. It was from Mike Prater's book about spacing, was called, and talking about the positions and how these positions started back in the 1800s, 130 years ago. It was the person who did jump balls was called center, because they would do center jumps each time a basket was scored. That was the center. There were guards, and the guards would be the guys that would stand behind the center because they were guarding their own basket. And then the guys on the other side of the tip circle were called forwards because they were pushing forward. That's how the positions got named. And we still stick with that. Why? What's the point of it? We just have 5 blokes that go out there. It's not like netball where you wear a bib with a certain position on it and you're restricted in what areas of the field you can go. You can go on the court wherever you want. So why do we even bother with this? Let alone going with those restrictive point guard, shooting guard, small forward. You can go with all flex if you want. I got no problem with it. In the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, we're going to be going with guards, forwards. That's it, guards and centers. But even that, I'm not sure having just a center position is great. Maybe it is better to just go flex. That's your best thing. Take the restrictions out of somebody else's hands. Why are those guys that are setting the position eligibilities impacting your league? They shouldn't. There's no reason for them to. So, in all of that being said, what we are going to come and talk about is on Yahoo, the players, the positions where I see A, they've got a position that they don't play, which you can use to your advantage, and B, the positions I think they're going to gain as the season goes on. So if you draft them now, I think you're going to get an additional position eligibility added to that guy, or there's a potential to do that, and that can come down the track. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL is back, and FanDuel is back with incredible offers from America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use and you can bet on everything from spreads, player props, money lines, whether the Dolphins are going to beat the Chargers, or whether the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl, or whether Tua's going to win MVP. All of those seem pretty likely, yeah? So, get across to FanDuel, get your offer, your bonus bets, but get also your $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer that you won't want to miss. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, that will bring us into talking about Yahoo Positions. What I'm looking at here are guys, and I've got, if you are on YouTube here, you'll see some little notations. The asterisk next to a player's position is a position I think that player is going to gain as the season goes on. What's the thing called? No, it's not a cedilla. The bloody, I can't remember what it's called. When you do shift 6, I'm going to pause it because I need to find out what it's called. All right, we're back in business. It's called a caret. I don't even think I ever knew that. Anyway, a caret, the one where you push shift 6. So let's go back. The asterisk means I think that player will gain this position. The caret means that is an erroneous position and they won't take it away, but you might be able to use it to your advantage when setting up builds and punt builds in fantasy leagues. So we'll start by looking at Steph Curry, who's currently listed only as a point guard. I think he's going to get shooting guard eligibility. Why is that? Well, Chris Paul is going to play, yeah? And Chris Paul is going to play next to Steph Curry. And Chris Paul is probably going to be the point guard when he's on the court with Steph Curry. So if I was giving position eligibilities, I'd probably already give Steph shooting guard, to be honest. And fantasy sites, Yahoo, Fantrax, ESPN, if you're listening, I'll do it. Just let me do it. Pay me some money, and I'll do it. I'll put all the positions out, and I think we got them correct. Maybe you'll disagree with my positioning. Actually, that leads me to one other thing. If you're ever going to come at me about positions and about what position people will play, A, it doesn't matter. But B, don't use Basketball Reference. Basketball Reference position estimates are 100% wrong. They base them on height only. That is all they base them on. So when it tells you Josh Giddey played 15% of his minutes at center last season, it's because he was the tallest player on the court. Like, he's not a center. He's not a power forward. He is a point guard. That's what he is. All right, so those position estimates are based solely on that. The place that I found the best positional estimates is over at Basketball Index. Apart from what I can estimate, but Basketball Index has them listed, but they don't have them listed as traditional point guard, shooting guard. They've got roles, which I think is a way more important way of viewing a player. Again, there is no requirement. You don't have to have one center on the court. You can have 5. You can have 5 point guards if you want. You can have 5 guys 6'2" that handle the ball. You do whatever you want. That brings me to the big fella in Dallas.
Oh, stunning.
Yeah, Luka Doncic. He's listed currently as point guard only. I think he'll get shooting guard. Why? Well, his backcourt teammate Kyrie Irving is listed as point guard, shooting guard. I think there is... Now, I'm less certain about this one with Luka than I am with Steph. I'm very sure Steph's going to get shooting guard. If Steph doesn't get shooting guard, it means Chris Paul has to get shooting guard, which again seems insane. Like that's not the case. But I think if Kyrie's got the dual point guard, shooting guard eligibility, and while yes, Luka would technically be the majority play initiator when he's playing with Kyrie, he's not going to do it full time when Kyrie's out there. So I think there'll be times when he's playing a little bit off ball next to Kyrie. So I think there's a chance that Luka gets that shooting guard eligibility. Now, this is an interesting one. If I go have a look on Basketball Reference, because Luka's big, what position do they have him playing? Maybe they have manually adjusted Luka. They just haven't bothered to do it for Josh Giddey. We'll just look at this in real time. What are the positional estimates for Luka Doncic on Basketball Reference? See how wrong I am. Where are they? Why aren't they coming up? I'm sure I'll find this really, really soon. This is great. Oh, here we go. They listed him 96% point guard, 4% shooting guard. In previous seasons, they had him listed half and half with time at small forward. We'll see. I think that he will probably end up getting some shooting guard eligibility. Devin Booker. He's currently listed as a shooting guard, small forward. You could argue he might not play small forward much this season. Whatever. I think he gains point guard eligibility. Now, they might look at that and say, well, Bradley Beal's actually the point guard. I don't think it is. I think Booker's going to spend more time on ball, and I think he's going to get point guard eligibility this season because irrespective of whether they think Beal is the point guard next to Booker or not, there are going to be plenty of times when Beal isn't on the court and Booker is the point guard. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get that eligibility, turning him into one of the very few players with 3 position eligibilities. I'm going to talk at the end of this show about the guys who currently have 3 positions. Domantas Sabonis. Now, this is wrong. This is just plain wrong. He's listed as a power forward center. Just real quick, find out for me how often he played as a power forward last season. You'll think you'll find it 0 minutes. How often do you reckon he's going to play next to JaVale McGee this season? I'd guess 0 minutes. Next to Nerlens Noel, pretty close to 0 minutes. Use this to your advantage, though. So while Sabonis can have some drawbacks in his lack of threes or lack of steals or blocks. His free throw percentage. His consistency in other stats is great, and that extra little bonus that he gets from playing a position that he doesn't actually play helps you. Same with Jrue Holiday, who in the past, this was an accurate position description. Point guard, shooting guard. But I'll ask you this, in what lineup is Jrue Holiday playing next to another point guard? None is the answer, because their backup point guard is either Andre Jackson, who would never be the point guard over Jrue Holiday, or it's two-way contract Ty Washington, who how often is he going to play? Jrue is going to be the point guard every second he is on the court unless something changes. It gives him an extra layer of advantage, having that extra position, but he's never going to be not a point guard this season. And then there's Chris Middleton, who is currently listed only as a small forward, power forward. Okay, that's interesting. I think he's got an outside shot at getting shooting guard eligibility because they can play Jrue, Middleton, Giannis, Brook. They can go big by putting Bobby Portis in there. They can throw Jay Crowder in there, who'd play the 3, and that moves Middleton to the 2. They can throw Pat Connaughton in there, who probably is more of a 3 than Middleton is. So there is a chance of Chrissy gaining the triple as well. Because he's going to play more shooting guard Middleton than power forward, I would guess. That would be my guess. Just going by the nature of the team and how they're set up. This one is the most egregious one that's out there. Daniel Gafford is listed only as a power forward on Yahoo. He is not a power forward. He has never been a power forward. He played 0 minutes at power forward last season, and he'll play 0 minutes at power forward again this season because he's the only center on the roster that's not named Mike Muscala. So, you get the advantage of him having a position that he isn't as a power forward, and then he'll gain center eligibility really quickly. So when you're doing a draft, don't look at it and go, I actually don't have any centers. You've got Gafford. Gafford is going to be center eligible, I guarantee you, and he's going to have this fake double eligibility, which is a bonus for you. DeMar DeRozan. Thankfully, Yahoo is doing position eligibilities based on the 2015 season, because DeRozan is listed only as a shooting guard. Now, DeRozan hasn't played shooting guard since I think his second last season in San Antonio. He's exclusively a forward, and he plays way more power forward than he plays shooting guard. He plays 0 minutes at shooting guard. So he is 100% getting small forward eligibility. 100% he's getting that. And he probably should get some power forward eligibility. Because let's be honest, if he's playing with Javon Carter, Zach LaVine, and Alex Caruso, he's the power forward, yeah? He can't shoot threes. He's the strongest out of that group. He's probably the tallest out of that group as well. He's the power forward, if we want to use positions that way. I have a small amount of faith that he gets power forward. I can guarantee you he's getting small forward eligibility. That is 100% happening. So when he's listed shooting guard, which he never plays, so you get that advantage, and you know small forward is coming, don't write that off in a draft. The good thing about Yahoo drafting as well, unlike ESPN, is that ESPN, if you get to a situation where they're ridiculous position eligibilities, and you're left with your last pick and you don't have center field, well, they don't let you draft another position. You have to draft a center. You can't say, I'm going into this season without a center, knowing that guys will get added. Yahoo lets you do whatever. You can pick whoever you want, which again is how it should be. That ESPN system is insane. It makes no sense. Ben Simmons is currently listed as a point guard, a shooting guard, and a power forward. And, okay, point guard, absolutely. Power forward, no problem. He played backup center last season. I don't know if he's going to do it this season, so I've got no problem with him not being given that. My thing there with Simmons is he's not a shooting guard. Very obviously he's not a shooting guard. If he's on the court, he's either got the ball in his hands or he's playing like an off-ball defensive forward role. That's it. He's never a shooting guard, but that extra layer of availability in positions for him is key. And they're not going to take it away. But he gets a little boost there. The Bronco, Jalen Williams.
Broncos country, let's ride.
He's listed as a shooting guard and small forward. I don't think that he's going to play very much shooting guard at all. I think there's at least 3 players who are going to get guard minutes ahead of him. Dort, Shea, Giddey. You can throw Micic in there. You might even throw, although I don't know how much he's going to play, but you're going to throw Case and Wallace. Or Isaiah Joe. Williams is a forward. He started at power forward all last season, but of course he's not listed as a power forward. He's listed as a shooting guard, small forward. Yeah, he will play small forward for sure. But I think he has to get power forward eligibility. He's going to be their starting power forward opening night. That will come. So don't be afraid of that one. Marcus Smart is listed as point guard only. Cool. He will get shooting guard eligibility because when Ja Morant comes back, Smart will move across one position. You could even argue that Smart would be the small forward and Des Bane will be the shooting guard. I think it might be a stretch to suggest that Smart gets small forward eligibility. I'd consider it, but he's definitely getting shooting guard eligibility. And then we go to Scotland Barnes, who is currently listed as a small forward, power forward. Okay. I could pretty easily argue he's not really going to play much power forward this season, given that Siakam and Anunoby are in the starting lineup, and then their bench consists of Jalen McDaniels, a power forward, Thad Young, a power forward, Chris Boucher, a power forward, Precious Achiuwa, a power forward center, Otto Porter, a power forward. And I'm probably missing someone there as well. All right, that's their bench. He has a chance to be their starting point guard. He is getting point guard eligibility. And if he isn't their starting point guard, well, he's probably going to be their shooting guard, even though he can't shoot, but he will play a guard role. I don't think he ends up getting 4 position eligibility, but he's definitely getting 3. If he's already got small forward, power forward, and one of those positions isn't point guard, he is getting point guard eligibility. So that is a bonus there for Scott to be able to get position of eligibility for both guard and forward, and maybe even get the quartet. There's no one currently with 4 positions. Some more ones over there on Yahoo. I talked about Giddey already. He's listed as a shooting guard, small forward, power forward, which is hilarious because he is their point guard. You could make the argument that he plays some shooting guard. Him and Shea, they split ball handling duties, okay? But Giddey can't shoot. He is a much better passer than Shea. He's one of the best passers in the entire NBA. He is a point guard. He is 100% not a power forward. He's not even really a small forward. Although I could see that argument. But I think I hope, the interesting thing here, I hope he gets point guard because I believe on ESPN, and I was going to just save this little bombshell. I'll do it now. ESPN, every player has 1 eligibility. That's it. And the only eligibility that Josh Giddey has on ESPN is point guard. And that's true. He is a point guard. So he should get that position, but he's got the added bonus of being forward eligible at both positions, yet he never plays there. I looked at Paolo Banchero's positions. I was a little surprised. He's listed as a small forward, power forward. I'd venture a guess he never plays small forward at all this season, and he's more likely to play minutes at center, given some of the success he had playing center at the FIBA World Cup. Will he get that center eligibility? I don't know. But I do know that having the small forward eligibility for Paolo when he won't ever play there is a little bit of a bonus for fantasy. Zach Collins is listed as a power forward center. I really don't see him playing much power forward at all, but that dual eligibility is important. I guess you could argue that he's the power forward next to Victor Wembanyama. I would disagree with that. Wemby is a 4. At this point in his career, he might always be a 4. And Zach Collins will be the center. And I don't think we're going to see many lineups with Collins playing next to Bassi or Dom Barlow or guys like that. So a little bit of extra boost there for Zach. Maga Porter Jr. is listed only as small forward. Okay? In the starting lineup, like how definite is it that he is the small forward and Aaron Gordon's the power forward? In the end, I don't think it matters that much. Again, that's why positions are pretty weird. But he's listed only with 1 position eligibility. And there are going to be plenty of times when Gordon's off and Porter plays at the 4 and they get Brown or Strouder or Hunter Tyson or whoever to play. But he's only single position eligibility at the moment, Porter, and I think there's a chance he gets that power forward. His former teammate, the Shark, Bruce Brown, he's got 2 positions. He's got 3. Actually, he's got 3 positions. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward. That's a real bonus because I don't think he's going to play any point guard this season. Not on a team that has Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, and TJ McConnell. I don't think there's going to be many times that Bruce is out there as the sole point guard. He's going to be playing more across the wing. But it's a huge bonus. They're not going to take that away from him, is my guess. So he gets the 3 positions. And I think Josh Hart ends up with 3 positions as well. He's currently listed as a shooting guard, small forward, but given that they lost Obi Toppin and didn't replace any backup power forward, that is going to have to be Josh Hart's role. So he is going to play a lot of power forward minutes, maybe even in closing lineups. Well, he won't because Julius Randle will be there. But he'll play a lot of power forward. So he's already got the shooting guard, small forward. and he will get power forward eligibility, I'm pretty sure, considering they don't have other power forwards on that team. Herbalife Jones is an interesting one. He's listed as a small forward, power forward only. I would say when you look at that team where CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas, I would say that the opening starting spot there is shooting guard. Now, I guess you could make an argument that Brandon Ingram is the shooting guard. Sure. I really don't see any scenario there where Herb Jones is playing at power forward. I think he can get that shooting guard eligibility, giving him the 3 positions, and a little bit of a bonus giving him power forward eligibility. This one is egregious. Jalen Green has point guard eligibility. I don't know why. There's no reason for this. They're not going to take it away from him. But it's going to be either Fred VanVleet, it's going to be Kevin Porter Jr., or I would guess it's going to be Amen Thompson. Should I play? I'll play sound later. So that's a little bonus there for Jalen. I said Jez because I was looking at the next player, and that is Jeremy Sohan.
Sohan now!
Who's listed as a power forward only. Well, if he does start for this team, it's definitely not going to be a power forward. So I think he's going to get small forward eligibility at the very least. And if they do decide to run him as a point guard, which they did last season quite a bit, he might end up with the power forward, small forward, point guard combo. I'm way more confident that Sohan gets small forward eligibility than point guard, but I think he can get the trio. Bogdan Bogdanovic, the first of 2 Bogdanoviches. Sorry, FIBA World Cup legend, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I'm recording this before the final, but at the moment, we know it's Serbia versus Germany. Wow, what an... I can't believe that's the final, but it is. Bogdan Bogdanovic has, at the moment, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward eligibility. Power forward makes no sense whatsoever. I don't get it at all. He'll play a lot of shooting guard and small forward. He might even play some point guard. But that little bonus power forward eligibility is really interesting. It helps you build those smaller lineups out. The Crucifix, Christian Wood, recently signed to the Lakers. And yeah, he's not going to start for them. And the incessant preseason whinging every time from Anthony Davis. I just don't want to play anymore, center. Can I please play power forward? Bro, come on. But anyway, Wood's not going to start. Wood is a terrible defender. Wood is a guy that has consistently been a problem in the locker room and has never played a single playoff game in his life. All that means to me is that he's going to get some minutes and he will get fantasy value as an option when Davis and LeBron sit. But on other nights, he'll play maybe 21, 22 minutes, I would guess. He's currently listed as power forward only, which is, again, pretty crazy. I think he's going to have to get center eligibility because the Lakers centers are Anthony Davis and Jackson Hayes, and that's it. And Wood will be the backup center on that team. Oh, Vanderbilt's a center as well, but Wood is going to be getting those minutes there too. So he will get center eligibility. So if you're drafting Christian Wood late as a stashy sort of guy waiting for an injury, understand that he probably will get center eligibility. Now we get to do Amen Thompson. Thompson is only listed as a small forward eligible player in Houston. To me, he is very clearly a point guard. It will be harder for him to get minutes exclusively at point guard on this team. But it's not easy to get him at small forward either, considering Kevin Porter, Tari Eason, and of course Dylan Brooks are going to be having those minutes, and Cam Whitmore if he plays, and Jayshawn Tate. I don't know whether he gets the full point guard, shooting guard, small forward eligibility, but I do think that Thompson is going to play a lot of minutes in the backcourt, giving him at least one of those guard eligibilities. I don't know if this is the most egregious positional situation or not, but Gary Trent Jr. is listed as a point guard, shooting guard eligible player.
Nice, Gary!
This man is never a point guard. He cannot create for others. It's insane that he has listed point guard eligibility, but he does. So you use it to your advantage if he's on your team. That extra little fake position eligibility probably gives someone a 5 to 10 position bump, especially down the bottom of a draft board. The other Bogdanovic it's Bojan in Detroit. He has shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Well, I'm really confident he's never going to play shooting guard at all, but he's got it, and I think he's going to play a lot of power forward, so that Asar Thompson can play small forward and Bojan moves up to the 4. So I think you'll gain power forward eligibility while still maintaining shooting guard eligibility. Huge W if that's the case. Malik Monk is listed as a shooting guard small forward. He's never going to play small forward. That's just never going to happen. But he's got the forward eligibility. And I think there's an outside chance he could get point guard eligibility because when he comes on off the bench, he runs things. Davion Mitchell theoretically is the point guard because he's the smallest guy there. But Monk plays more minutes than Mitchell, and he's the guy that initiates everything. Kevin Porter Jr. is currently listed as a point guard shooting guard. That is totally reasonable. I think given the fact that they brought Van Vliet in, that Porter will play across the spectrum of positions 1 through 3. So I think there's an outside chance he gets small forward eligibility. I also think there's an outside chance that Alex Caruso, the rabbit hunter,
be very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
I think there's an outside chance that Caruso gets the 4 position eligibility. Caruso is currently listed as a point guard shooting guard. There won't be... he might play some point guard, but there is Dosunmu, White, Javon Carter. Maybe he's shooting guard eligible, which I'm not sure how much he's going to play, but he could. I would think that White is more of a shooting guard there behind Levine. But a lot of the minutes he will get is coming in playing next to Carter and Levine, playing as a small forward, or in certain situations playing as a power forward when the Bulls go really small. Because this is the value of Caruso in real life, is he's extremely versatile. He can play many different positions. So he's currently point guard shooting guard. I think you should get at least one of those forward eligibilities. And this one is one of the most egregious ones. Kevon Looney is listed as a power forward. That's it. He's not. He never will be. He's never a power forward. He'll never play a single second at power forward. So he's going to get center eligibility, but you've already got the added bonus that he's got power forward eligibility. Yeah, will he play minutes next to Draymond Green? Which one of those two is the center? Well, it's obviously Looney. Is he going to play next to Saric at all? Trace Jackson Davis? I'd highly doubt that. There's no chance that he is a power forward player, but he's got that eligibility and he will gain center eligibility. And some other ones that are worth noting towards the end of drafts. Again, just a little bit of a boost for these guys and for deeper leagues. Richaun Holmes is listed as a power forward and center. He's not going to play any power forward in Dallas. He's not going to play next to Dwight Powell. He's not. So you get a little boost there. If he does gain the starting job, you've got the double position eligibility. The Duck, Luke Kennard, is listed as point guard shooting guard. I don't think he's going to play really any point guard at all, but I do think he's going to play some small forward next to Bane, next to Marcus Smart, like Smart, Bane, Kennard. So he might be able to gain small forward eligibility while retaining point guard eligibility. Rowan Barrett is currently listed as a shooting guard small forward. I don't think he really ever plays shooting guard, so that's a little bonus. But as we talked about with Josh Hart, there's no backup power forward on this team, and he's going to have to do that along with Hart. So he's an outside chance to get the triple. Royce O'Neal, the Basmati man, he's got shooting guard small forward eligibility. He's not a shooting guard, very clear. He can't shoot. He's not a shooting guard. He's not going to play shooting guard. The roles he's going to play is power forward, maybe small forward. So maybe he gets power forward eligibility, but that shooting guard's already a bonus. And Taylor Horton-Tucker in Utah is listed as a shooting guard small forward. The only games he started last season were as a point guard. So he'll maintain shooting guard small forward. I don't really think he's ever a shooting guard. But I think there's a shot that he gains point guard eligibility. And then if we go to Denver, Christian Brown is currently listed single position only as a shooting guard. Well, he's going to have to play backup 2 and backup 3. I expect that he would gain small forward eligibility. And now to talk about ESPN. Every single player on ESPN has one position. That's it. That is going to change, but I can't go here and list these are the guys I think is going to change because I'd be listing 180 different players. There are very few players who are single position only players. You'll have some point guards and you'll have some centers. Chris Paul's a single position player. Daniel Gafford, Kevon Looney, they are single position players. Nikola Jokic is a single position player. Joel Embiid is a single position player. They play center. That everyone else sort of plays all over the place. And again, tying it back in to we don't need restrictive positions on guys. And ESPN's gone to the default of having you got to have point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and then giving no one any flexibility. They will add some in. I don't know when. And waiting for ESPN to make something happen on the fantasy basketball side, well, that's a disaster waiting to happen. They are really bad at it. There is going to be guys, I don't know who they are because I honestly don't want to pay attention to ESPN. There are going to be guys who are currently on NBA rosters that you cannot draft on ESPN. I 100% guarantee you that. I don't know who they are. I'll tell you one of them. Honorable Batum, I bet he's not on ESPN. There's almost no way that old mate Batum, Bulls to a legend, is available to draft on ESPN. Because they're just slow. And he might not... I remember Max Strus wasn't available on ESPN until his third season. This happens all the time. So waiting for them to make their decision on positions is going to be interesting. Let's talk about the triple position guys. At the moment, these are a list of players who are, and maybe the last guy there isn't really a necessary or a 12-team league player, but there is like at least 7 guys here who have 3 position eligibility over on Yahoo who are standard league players. Paul George goes shooting guard, small forward, power forward. So does Brandon Ingram. So does Franz Wagner. That's great. Having that guard forward / ability. So even if you do go less restrictive and go guards and forwards, those guys, that's a real boost. Ben Simmons, we talked about already. Josh Giddey's got the shooting guard, small forward, power forward. He might get 4 positions. Bruce Brown has currently got the point guard, shooting guard, small forward combination as well. And Bogdan Bogdanovic goes the 2-3-4. Gary Payton also has the 1-2-3 eligibility, but he's not really a standard league guy. I think we're going to have more of these 3 position guys coming in, but at the moment, these are the guys. And there are some other ones. I think there's 2 more across their entire player set that do have 3 positions, but they are way down the bottom. In fact, I probably should just go through and tell you who those last... I think there's 2 other guys who have got triple position eligibility. Let's go through my list. Gary Payton is the last one there that I had. Who are the other 2 that have got it? Alec Burks has got point guard, shooting guard, small forward. Malachi Branham has got point guard, shooting guard, small forward as well. And there might be one more. That's a weird one for Branham, by the way. Lindy Waters, 2-way legend, has shooting guard, small forward, power forward eligibility over on Yahoo. And he is definitely not a power forward. AJ Lawson has triple position eligibility. Glad they gave AJ Lawson that positional stuff while they gave Doncic one position. That makes tons of sense. So they're your other guys who have got the triple position eligibility. And that'll do it for me today. Follow this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. Last call. Just make your positions less restrictive. No need to do it. No need to have restrictive positions. Open it way up. It's more fun. On YouTube, thumb it up. Leave your comments down below, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.